Hey everyone, in this episode I have a gentleman on by the name of Jared Flash Gordon. I must admit I was very excited for this episode. Jared is somebody that came from nothing and really made a name for himself through his sobriety journey. He is a professional UFC fighter. He's been fighting in the UFC for a long time. I've had the pleasure of watching him fight on TV, never in person, but you never know. Maybe I will one day. But this guy was using drugs underneath Madison Square Gardens. He was shooting heroin underneath Madison Square Gardens, only to find himself years later fighting in Madison Square Garden. And it was something that he never thought was going to be possible. And I tell you what, he has a remarkable story. So if you have somebody in your life that just feels like they're not going to amount to anything, and this addiction of theirs is just absolutely have their life destroyed, this story, this interview will give you hope. Because if Jared can do it, anybody can do it. It's such an amazing story. He's open. He's honest about everything that has taken place in his life. And I will say this, there is a lot of cursing. So if you have little ears around, please be mindful of that. Preferably don't listen to this episode when you have young ones around. All right, enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we also have a gentleman here by the name of Jared the Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon.
Oh.
No,
the
Jared Flash Gordon.
It's not like a superhero. Jared Flash Gordon. So I'll just go in by saying we were going to do this, 4 or 5 months ago, maybe. I don't know. It was right when you were getting ready to fight Patty Pimblett. And
I don't remember.
No, it's all good. I get it. You know, you were fighting. You were getting ready to fight Patty Pimblett, and we had it scheduled. But I think we had it scheduled. It was like 2 weeks before the fight. And you're like, dude, no, I can't, because you were training, which was to be expected.
Yeah, I'm super selfish.
Yeah.
When I'm in fight camp.
Yeah.
My wife hates me, and I don't want to do anything for anyone. So,
well, hey,
don't take it personally.
No, I didn't.
I have to be selfish though, you know, because I gotta stay dialed in, and
what's your
I'm
livelihood?
also exhausted. Like I don't want to do anything else because I'm like training all day long, and I need to recover before and after practices. So like when I'm done, I just come home and relax. Like,
yeah. Well, I didn't take it personal. I did shed a few tears, but it's all right.
Good.
My son and my wife were more upset than it. But anyways, hey, listen, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use. And thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us at info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, it's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message, right, Ben?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm excited for this. And I did say before we started recording that I'm going to do my darndest to not bring up, for selfish reasons, a ton about UFC and fighting, and you know, because it would be selfish of me to do that. But I do think
talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a big part of your story, obviously.
Yeah,
so we can't shy away from it. But I think in this, as a listener, what I'm hopeful that you get out of this is you see somebody that came from, well, I'll let him talk on it, but nothing to something, I guess is the best way to put it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So we'll just get right into it, Jared. And, you know, it's organic. So we're going to cut in, ask questions, so on and so forth. But tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, where you grew up, stuff like that. And we'll go from there.
So I was born in Manhattan, raised in Long Island, and then Queens, New York. I came from a great family. My father did really well for himself. He was a blue-collar guy, but he did very well. He owned a wholesale hardware company. He was a landlord. He did a bunch of different things. And So like money was never like an issue for my family. We always lived in like a big ass house, pool, always had like nice things. You know, my dad had, you know, multiple cars. So like that wasn't part of my story. Anything I wanted, I had. And anything that I wanted and I asked for, I usually got it. Unless it was like something crazy.
Yeah.
But like that, yeah, like that wasn't part of my story. I lived in a really, really nice area on the North Shore of Long Island when I was younger. And I went to great schools. Everyone that I grew up with was, I would say, rich, basically. Definitely not middle class, high, you know, upper class. And, you know, I went to school with like Howard Stern's kids. I went to school with the owners of Cablevision, the owners of WB11, you know, really well-to-do people. And so, but it's funny, like we lived in this area where like, you know, everyone went to college and went to really good schools and everyone did well. You know, you're in high school, but you're driving in a Mercedes or a BMW. But like the kids were terrible people, man. Everyone was like really like, you know, you had money, so that meant that you were able to access whatever you wanted. And that usually meant drugs and partying, whatever. So I grew up, nice area. When I was a young kid, I went to sleepaway camp.
Went to where?
Sleepaway camp.
What is that? What is that? It sounds creepy.
It was pretty creepy, actually. It turned creepy. It was a place where you went, had fun, but you slept there for the summer. So basically, if your parents were rich, they sent you away for the summer because they didn't want to deal with you, you know?
Okay.
You know? And that's where all like the kids went to, that's what all the kids in my area did. They went to camp and shit. I was there though, and while I was there, I was sexually assaulted by a male counselor.
Oh no.
Yeah, so full on, you know, sexual assault.
How old were you?
I was 8.
Okay.
Came home from camp. I turned 9 that September. I was fucked up, dude. Like mentally. But I didn't tell anyone until I was 23, actually. That happened to me. And then shortly after that, I started smoking weed. So I have an older brother, Dylan, who you know. Mm-hmm. He's like 20 months older than me. And we have we had some family friends who were like 14, 15 at the time. And they were all smoking pot. You know, after school, just being knuckleheads. And we were like outside kids. Played outside, skate. We were like all skateboarding. You know, we were outside all day long, like after school. And they were smoking pot. And so I started smoking pot when I was 9.
Wow.
And looking back at it, 9 years old is pretty young to start smoking pot. And I can probably say now that I was like trying to like drown out my trauma, I guess. And, you know, we were drinking beers, you know, just being stupid kids, fighting other kids. That's what we did. And, you know, by the time I was 11, I was smoking pot every day. And I remember, like, I knew who to buy weed from, and I would just call him and ride my bike over there, buy some weed, you know, be like, hey, Dad, let me get $20. Go buy some pot, you know, hang out with my friends outside. And that's what we did, you know. And then as the years went on, the progression of my disease went on, you know, evolved. I had my first run-in with cocaine when I was 13. Doing coke. I remember I was in the back seat of my friend who was like 17 and he was driving. I remember he had a Jeep Cherokee. And I remember I was sniffing coke, ironically, off of a Cream CD.
Wu-Tang?
Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton.
Oh, yeah.
White Room. We were listening to that song, In a White Room. In a white room.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is fucking 13, you know?
Oh.
And we were smoking weed, and it was crazy, man. I remember my fucking heart was fucking
going nuts.
I remember clearly I was with my friend Ariel, who's actually doing great now. And that's how it started for me. And I just progressed, like as the, Xanax. When we were younger, there was no painkillers around, at least where I was. 14, 15, it was like Xanax, ecstasy, shrooms, other drugs like that. A lot of coke though. Coke and Xanax was like a big thing that we all did. And we drank like fucking fish, parties, keg parties, stupid shit. And weed, obviously everyone smoked weed. And then when I got a little older, the opiates came around, like 17, 18. Vicodin, Perks, and then Oxy started getting big where we were. And kids started dying, man.
What year was that?
2000. I was not 18, so 2007.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah, 2006, 2007.
Yeah, because I'm 39. Ben and I are 39. We're born same exact day, same year.
Oh, wow.
April 7th, 1984. It's so weird. Anyways, but yeah, go ahead.
So, got addicted to. So I started training. I graduated high school. I started training. Had my first amateur fight. 4 months after I started training, I won. I fell in love with the sport. And then,
so let me pause you there real quick because I think there. When did you stumble into your first? I don't even know what would you call it?
an MMA gym.
Yeah.
I was 18 or 17 actually. I walked into a gym. The UFC was getting big at the time. Frank Yeager was the guy who I looked up to. He made his debut, his UFC debut. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, if he can do it, I can do it. Small guy, smaller guy. And then that's how it happened. I started training. I fell in love with the sport. And all my friends were into it. We're all training. And that was it. I was hooked. I had my first amateur fight. And then like that feeling of winning, I was like, holy shit.
There's a lot there to unpack. If we kind of go back, first and foremost, I want to say thanks for like being vulnerable and authentic, bringing up the sleepaway camp stuff. Yeah. I had a similar experience, 10 years old, same kind of thing. Was, and you mentioned smoking weed, doing the coke, all that, like numbing it out. I can speak for myself where, dude, I just, even though, because I was like you, I didn't actually say anything till I was 23 either. But I, internally, just like always felt less than. And I think a huge part of that, I don't know that I was intentionally drowning out my trauma, but I feel like I always had to prove myself. So like if I heard so-and-so is doing ecstasy, I'm like, oh, they did it. I better do it so that I can say I did it too. Yeah. But it was like all this internal head noise
for sure, bro,
of keeping up.
I mean, at the time, I don't think I could say that I was doing it to self-medicate, to like feel better than I was feeling or whatever. But looking back at it, it definitely was like looking for an escape,
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing. Like I want to prove myself to like, yo, look, I'm cool or whatever the fuck. Or like.
Well, I think that's how it starts with most people. I mean, it was, I was the same thing. I mean, I remember at 11, 12 years old, I was running off into the woods with my buddies and, smoking hollow sticks, just to,
just to do something,
and then cool, walking up the street and finding cigarette butts on the ground,
I think that's every kid, man.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, that's how it starts. Like,
yeah, and it's not until we put together some sobriety time that we start to understand and see, okay, this stuff was rooted in something, and that's very different for a lot of people. But, and myself, we relate in the sense of I grew up with my dad. It was just him and I got whatever I wanted. I did not go without ever. I always had brand new cars, the deal. I always had nice clothes and stuff like that. But, hindsight's 2020. I know that, my dad, he was a single father, did what he could with what he had, but there was a lot of, hey, go out and figure it out on your own from a very young age, because he had to go to work. He had to provide. So it's like, okay, you're 10 years old. You're old enough to stay at home and you're probably not going to kill yourself. So, there was a lot of that stuff going on,
I like too that you brought up your upbringing because, for me, I moved up to Jupiter, Florida. I was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but moved up to Jupiter when I was 8 and a lot of well-to-do as well. And I'm glad you bring that up, man. We were actually we had our family weekend yesterday for Rock where the family's flying to town and, we have a young man that's with us now, but he was basically talking about, I came from such a good family, and he's like beating himself up. I got everything I ever needed, like financially, etc. But I like that you brought that up, because the reality of the situation is, like, we know it doesn't discriminate, but also, like, for me growing up in the Jupiter area, you know, a lot of these kids had a ton of money,
rich,
which that money equates to them having drugs and other resources. Yeah. Mom and dad got a boat so they could like disappear out on the boat all day with no supervision. And you don't necessarily have to grow up in the hood to be exposed to this stuff. And I think that's a fallacy a lot of the time.
Yeah. And it's funny because I moved to Queens. My father's business burned down when I was 13 and killed like some firemen in New York City. And we couldn't afford to live where we were living anymore. So we moved to Astoria, Queens, and I went to school in Long Island City, like right next to Queensbridge housing projects. That's where I finished high school. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, the kids that I live with now are bad, but they're all rich. Mm-hmm. So when I move to Queens, these kids are going to be like fucking killers. Because, you know, they're all lower class. Like most of them were lower class, you know, lived in apartments.
Right. It wasn't what you were used to.
Don't had a car. Not one kid that I went to high school with had a car. Every kid that I went to high school with or that I was in school with in Long Island had a car. And, you know, they all lived in mansions, basically.
Yeah.
And it was the exact opposite. These kids were hardworking, did well in school, wanted to fucking go to college and, like, be successful. So I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It was weird. So, yeah, it was like a weird experience. So, yeah, I mean, like, it was a definite culture shock for me, though, moving to the city. You know, I'm taking a subway to school now, where I used to, like, drive in a car to school. Now I'm on the subway every day going to... So, but I'm thankful that it happened. Like, I'm not happy that my father's business burned down and killed firemen, but I'm happy that I got to experience living in the city and experience different cultures. Because I grew up with all Italian, Irish kids and Jewish kids, whatever they were, like nationality wise, but all white people, you know. And then I moved to Queens, and now I'm the minority, which was, I think, great for me because I was living in a bubble in Long Island, just like a protected bubble where everything is cushy and nice and easy, you know.
Well, you know, I'd say. And obviously we don't know each other very well at all, but I've obviously followed you on Instagram for a long time. And I do recognize that particular area, Astoria, had a big impact on you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And, you know, I think there's something to be said there because, you know, a lot of your posts, like a lot of your growth came from that period of time 100%. When you were in the... I don't know what you would call it, the lower class area. Like, I think it's just super cool in the sense of like, you know, here I'm with people that I'm not used to, you know, and
yeah,
you got humbled a little bit,
and, you know, like growing up, my father, whatever, like I said, did well. And then when the business burned down, he lost a lot of money.
Yeah,
him and my uncle owned a business. They lost millions of dollars. We couldn't afford to live where we were living. We moved into my grandmother's house in the Astoria, Queens. And then, so that was 2001. My father rebuilt the business, took years. Like the store was gone, like it leveled. They bought a lot, like a couple blocks out, and had to rebuild the whole business, the whole building, everything. And it was a humbling time for all of us. And then, like, finally the business is up and running, and then the economy tanked. 2008, the housing market crashed, and my father was relying on like contractors and people that were building houses, building, you know, buildings to come in and buy supplies to build, and all that went away because no one was building shit, you know. So my father like just put all this money into a new business, was over leveraged, and then the housing market happened, and my dad was like, we're fucking broke. I would be like, Dad, let me get money. He'd be like, I can't. I don't have money to fucking give you. You need to get a job. Like, I can't give you money anymore. I don't fucking have it. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, like what the fuck happened?
Wow.
You know, and I just remember like my dad was like, I don't know what we're gonna, like, refinancing the house. Like he went through a tough time, and then, you know, he built the business back, everything came back, the market came back, and then he finally sold it. He's retired, he cashed out, everything's good now. But, you know, it was weird for me. Like I went from whatever I wanted to, I can't even give you fucking $20 anymore, you know? And it was weird. And then so that, what happened was I started selling drugs. It turned me into a criminal kind of. But I was already going down that way. But yeah, selling drugs became a big part of my story. I don't like to like brag about that because that's not cool, obviously. Like, poisoning the community is not, which is part of my story. Yeah. And then, you know, I started doctor shopping, doing the whole pill thing. You know, sending people to the doctors, going to the doctor myself, you know, getting pills, selling the pills, supporting my own habit. And, you know, when that all went away, that's when I really started to fuck up. I went to my first treatment center. I went to behavioral health at Palm Beaches.
Oh,
B-Hop.
B-Hop. Before Banyan bought it.
Yeah, 2011. I met some kids in there that showed me how to shoot drugs. We left early, started getting high together. I was shooting drugs. I was down here living in a halfway house, or in and out of different halfway houses because I kept testing positive. And then I got arrested for a home invasion, robbery, felony battery down here.
Is that the mugshot that you always share?
One of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was facing 25 to life.
Man.
And luckily, the person that was supposed to testify against me never showed up to court because he was a wanted felon.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So they just were like, all right, they dismissed the case and they fucking let me go, bro. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm so lucky. I would have went to prison. I would still be in prison probably.
How far along with you? Because we kind of switched direction. Yeah. You said at 18, you walked in the first time.
Yeah, so I started fighting at 18, had my first amateur, started training at 17, had my first amateur fight when I was 18. I just turned 18. Literally a couple days later, had my first amateur fight. I fought 8 times as an amateur. And then I went pro when I was 22. I got into UFC when I was 28. And I'm still, you know, 35 now. Fuck.
What's
crazy?
Can I ask? I mean, this is it might be a stupid question, but not to me, anyways. What's the difference, like when you go from an amateur fighter to a pro? Like, what's the criteria for that?
So the only difference is the rules are different.
Oh, okay.
Or depending on what state you're fighting in, the rules are different. Some states they're the same rules. Where I was fighting in New Jersey, you wear shin guards, bigger gloves.
Oh.
There's no strikes on the ground. There's no elbows or knees to the face when you're standing. So it's less like vicious, you know, and it's less chance for injury. You know, they want to build guys. They don't want them to be getting clobbered when they're young, and then by the time they go pro, they're already beat up.
Okay.
And then also, when you go pro, you get paid to fight.
Oh,
as an amateur, you're not getting paid. There's no purse.
Right.
You make money selling tickets, but you only get like 20% of the tickets. But so yeah, when you go pro, now the rules are pro rules. The time is the rounds are longer, 5-minute rounds. Amateur fighting is 3-minute rounds, and the rules, you know, it's full on MMA rules.
Now, do they approach you and say, "Hey, we think you're ready," or do you have to like apply to go pro? Or?
No, I did well as an amateur. I was a 2-time amateur champ, and then I was just like, yeah, I want to fight pro. And my coach got me a fight. I took it on 4-day notice. I won, and that was it. That was the start of my pro career. The night that I won and I relapsed that night, I was sober for like a month, and I was like, "Fuck it, time to celebrate." And I remember I was sniffing Opanas in the what was it? The Resorts Casino in Atlantic City. I relapsed and I went on a run, and I got sober. I went to a place called Samaritan Village, which was a therapeutic community. I was there for 6 months.
So how many treatments have you been to in your...
I don't know, like 13 or 12.
Oh, wow.
And I also was in, crisis centers, homeless shelters,
Wow.
psych wards, hospitals, jails. I got arrested 8 titimes.
So you would
So like 30 something facilities in total. That I, because of my addiction that I spent time
from the age of
21
Okay.
or 2021 to I was 27.
Wow.
I got sober when I was 27. Yeah.
That's like 3 centers a year, or no more, maybe 4 or 5 a year.
Yeah, I was going in and out, man.
Chronologically speaking, you mentioned becoming pro. Where'd the treatments fall? And was it were you going to treatment first, then became pro, then back to treatment?
So
or how'd all that look?
I went pro, and then I went to my first treatment center, B-Hop.
Okay.
A couple months later, I went to that fucking Ultra Music Festival,
What year?
2011. I went fucking berserk. I did so much drugs that week.
Wait, this was after you went to treatment at B-Hop?
No, this was before.
Okay.
So
All
that's actually what made me like go to treatment.
Okay.
I came down to Florida with like 300 something oxys, prescribed. So I was carrying them around like, oh, these are my pills, and I was doing so much uppers, like the amount of ecstasy and cocaine that I did that weekend.
That's like a 4-day festival, right?
Yeah, I was fighting and I was fucking beating people. I was out of control, bro. I was beating people up. I ended up in Overtown smoking
Nice.
crack. And then I went back to the festival. 'Cause, it was downtown Miami, I think. That's where the festival is.
I went to the first 8 ultras growing up
bro,
down
that
here.
place is
It's just part of
It's insane that thing.
growing
dude.
up.
Well, you were pro at this time. Did you?
I was a pro fighter at this point. I had 1 pro fight.
Wow.
Out of curiosity, I don't know if you can necessarily answer this or not, but like, were you looked at as a liability? Like, what?
Who? To who?
Like, amongst the professional, when you say pro, was it UFC at that time?
No.
Like,
I was just like a regional fighter fighting professionally. No,
Oh, that's a
no
good-
no one cared.
yeah, like culturally speaking. Oh, okay, no one
Yeah, no one
cared.
gives a
Like
fuck.
like coaches
I mean, my
and stuff
parents-
like that. Like they're like,
I was
eh.
like at one team, but then I just was like, I didn't like it there. I made my pro debut with them. I won, and then I was like, fuck this. I left. I hated it there. It was in Ithaca, New York, upstate New York. So I was like, I'm just gonna go back to the city, and then I started training down there. And I met my coaches that I'm still with now, Jason Strout, my coach Jason Strout. I met him, started training with him, and while I was living down, I was in and out. I would like fight 3-4 times. I would be clean. I wasn't sober. I was just staying abstinent. And then I had shoulder surgery. I relapsed because I started I took pain pills. Then I got sober again. I went to one of my sister-in-law was working at this place. I forget what it was called. Recovery Associates.
That's where I went.
yeah.
Jim Rapp.
I don't remember anyone's names there.
Yeah.
I was there. I stayed sober for about 1.5 years, and then I had a big fight. I won like 3, 4, or 5 fights, and then I had a big fight for the CFFC title, Cage Fury Fighting Championships, and I broke my medial wall and orbital floor, and I had to have emergency surgery. I went from the cage right to the hospital, and I was there for 5 days, and they're shooting me up with Dilaudid and morphine every 4 hours. I had surgery. They put a huge plate in my face. And the doctor was like, you're never going to fight again. And I was supposed to get a contract that I would have got signed to the UFC if I won that night. I was winning the fight, but the doctor called the fight between the 3rd and 4th round because my face was like out to here. He's like, you can't fight anymore.
Wow.
And,
Do you have pictures of that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So, 4 or 5 days of Dilaudid. They gave me a script of 10 milligram oxys that were like instant release ones. So they weren't like Percocet, it was just Oxycontin, but there's 10 milligram ones. And I remember like going home with them and being like, I'm fucking fucked, bro. And the doctor was like, you're never, like, they thought I lost my eye. And turned out my eye was fine, thank God. And they were like, you're never going to fight again, probably. And I was like, I'm supposed to go to UFC. What the fuck are you talking about? So I'm at home in Queens. It's summertime, and like 6 weeks goes by that I didn't use. My parents have a house upstate New York, and they went away, and I was in the house by myself. And I remember, bro, it was like 99 degrees in Queens. And I'm sitting on my couch. No one's in the house. And I'm sitting in my living room, like, and it was silent. And like I could hear the AC unit, like clink, 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 like. And I'm sitting there so fucking depressed because that fight was supposed to get me to UFC, and I was going to be the CFSC champion. I would have been 10-0 as a pro, and I was going to get a contract, a UFC contract. And now I'm thinking I'm never going to fight again. My fucking eye, I had a major concussion. I said, fuck this, I'm going to get high. And I called the guy. I remember I called the guy that I called for years. And I'm like, he's never going to answer. Ring, yo, what's up? And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he was like, what's going on? I'm like, you around? He's like, yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes. He hung up the phone. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
And I was sober for like a year and a half at this point. And I'm like, fuck. I remember that night I bought fucking coke and heroin. And that was it. I fucking went to town. And for about 5 months, I've used like I've never used before, man. And like now, like I'm really into shooting coke at this point.
Not like today, but then.
Yeah.
The way you said that, it sounded like.
Sorry. Then I was really into shooting coke. And I went nuts, dude. Because the coke would make me insane, you know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Like the psychosis. And I would be up for days. And I was like vicious. Like any way I can get money, I was getting money. Like I was robbing drug dealers. I was doing all sorts of crazy shit.
I'd be scared to death to hang out with you.
People did not want to be around me, bro. I was no one hung. I didn't hang around with people. I was alone. I would be in the bathroom for like 7 hours, just shoving needles in my arm.
God.
Couldn't stop fucking shoving a needle in my arm. And finally, Christmas Day, I overdosed. Went to the hospital, and I remember, bro, the cops were so scared. Not scared, but they were like, they came to the ambulance to the hotel where I was at. And I came to, and I guess they Narcaned me, and I'm like, "Where's my drugs?" And they're like, "Bro, you're not getting your drugs back." And I'm like, "Where's my money?" And they're like, "We'll give you the money." It was Christmas Day. I had so much heroin and coke with me that I was for sure I was going to get locked up. And they're like, "Look, we're not going to bring you to jail." They knew I was a drug addict. They're like, "We're just going to bring you to the hospital and cut you loose." But I woke up and I was in like crazy psychosis and I was super paranoid. So I'm like going like this. And they're like, "All right, we're going to put you in handcuffs just to, because we're kind of worried." And they came in the ambulance with me because they were afraid for the EMTs. And I remember I was like, I thought there was midget cops, midget FBI agents or some shit like that were following me. And I kept like, I was seeing shadows and I thought they were like midget. I was in the craziest psychosis. So they fucking were dousing me with Valium to try to get me to fucking go to sleep. Finally, they hit me with Halidol, which is like a crazy.
Yeah.
I fell asleep for like a day, dude. And I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the hospital. Where the fuck's my money? And like all I had was a pair of jeans. I didn't know where my shoes were. And I walked out of the hospital on December 26th. No shoes, just hospital socks, no shirt. But I had a hospital gown on and jeans. I walked home and my parents were like, they had no idea where I was for weeks. And I rang the bell and they were like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I just need like a pair of sneakers and a sweater and I'm fucking going to detox. And they're like, all right. And I just had enough, I couldn't do it anymore, dude. I was in and out of motels on the street. I was fucking stealing from drug dealers. And I just was like, I had enough, man. And I had this guy, Tommy, who became my sponsor, who was like, bro, you just gotta go to fucking detox, bro. You're gonna die. So I went to detox. I went to this place called Creedmoor. It was a major psych ward, but they had a alcohol drug treatment center on the grounds. And I remember, man, being there and like at nighttime, the building next door was called the Big Building, they called it. And it was like where the really like crazy people were. And I could hear them like howling at night and like cursing all night long. Fuck, like, crazy people. And I remember being like, oh my God. Like, 3 a.m. and they're fucking screaming. And I'm like, where am I? And I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't want to be here. I can't do this anymore, And then I started talking to God, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this or how to pray, but like, I guess you're real. A lot of my friends were dying or dead, and I was still alive, man. I still had this pro fighting career, and I stayed sober, man. I just started going to meetings. That guy Tommy became my sponsor. I did steps with him, which is what changed my life. And meetings, and helping others. And that's it, man. I stayed sober, and I got back into fighting. Within a year, I was in UFC, yeah.
Can I bring something up that we talked about before hitting record? Our therapist, Maya, was hanging out in here, and she asked you something along the lines of, did fighting help you get sober? And you looked her dead in the eye and said no. It was 12 steps in AA. And
yeah, it was elaborate? Like a reason for me to like power on and like be disciplined, but it never could keep me sober. And I tried to use fighting as my way to stay sober, but as soon as something bad happened, I would relapse. Like I had shoulder surgery, like I said, and I relapsed. I had that plate put in my face, I relapsed. And I was just abstinent, I wasn't doing anything else at those times. But once I started like doing the work and relying on God, who I call Jesus, and helping others, and really doing the work, like I'm able to stay sober. And a lot of bad things have happened in these last 8 years. I've had 2 surgeries, I didn't relapse. Multiple injuries, multiple tragedies, people dying, wins, losses. When I was younger, I would win. Fuck, let's go celebrate and fucking get high or drink or whatever. Now I celebrate. Let's go get some pizza, man. Fucking love and be with my loved ones. And that's it, bro.
I want to hit home this point because honestly, it's so powerful coming from you in particular. Where we get a lot of young guys like come to rock, and we do the gym thing, as people know that listen to the podcast and whatnot. And that coming from you, an elite athlete, professional athlete, that didn't keep you sober, so to speak. Like, it's just so powerful because we get so many young guys here that are like, oh, the gym is what's going to get me sober.
I wish. No, it won't. It will only it can be a way for you to have goals and aspirations, and it's obviously going to the gym is great. Physical health is important, but it will never keep you sober for long periods of time. Or eventually something will happen and you'll break. And the gym is not going to be your reason to stay sober. Like, I got to go to the gym tomorrow, I'm going to stay sober. No. But God. So when I was 4 years sober, I just made 4 years sober. Me and my wife were going through it. The pandemic, I think it was right before the pandemic started. Me and my wife were going through it. We were engaged at the time. She had left the apartment, and I was like, fuck this, I'm going to New York. And I went up there, and I was by myself, and I was like, I couldn't stop dreaming and fantasizing about shooting coke. And I called that same guy. And he was like, yeah, I'm coming meet you. All right. So I went and I'm like, holy shit, am I really about to fucking blow 4 years right now? My finances were struggling at the time. I was coming off of some losses, I think, or a UFC loss. Super depressed. My wife and I were going through it. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to get high. I just celebrated 4 years like a day before.
Wow.
And I'm on my way to CVS to buy needles. It's 10 p.m. I'm in Queens, New York. The whole way there, I'm praying, God, please, gotta do something. Because I'm going to fucking get high. If you don't do something, I'm getting high. I'm literally meeting the guy. And I'm standing in line at the pharmacy in CVS. And I'm standing there and I'm praying, and I see this book on the shelf underneath their cash register at the pharmacy. And I'm like, what the fuck? That book, it looked like it should have been in the fucking Vatican in Rome or some ancient museum, this book. It was between a box of Tic Tacs and Skittles. And I'm like, what the fuck is that book? It looks really special. And it's like face down. So I get off the line and I pick it up and I turn it over, and on the cover it says, "How God Deals with Tough Times." And as soon as I read the title, the girl at the register was like, "Are you ready?" And I looked at her and I looked at the book and I was like, "I'm good." I put the book down. I should have took the book. I put the book down and I fucking walked out, and I got in my car and I called my sponsor, that guy Tommy. And I'm like, "Yo, I'm literally about to get high right now." And he's like, "All right, come meet up with me." We had some, we went to a diner in New York. You know, it's fucking 11 o'clock at night. Everything's still open. And I'm like, "Yo, I'm really going to get high." And I didn't. And we went to a meeting at like 1 a.m. in the morning. I have like 24-hour meetings there in the city. The next day I went to a meeting. I told my parents, like, "Yo, I'm literally like on the verge of getting high." And I didn't get high, bro. And the only thing that stopped me was God. Could it have been a coincidence that book said that and that God had nothing to do with it? Yeah, I guess. But do I believe that was like divine intervention? Yeah, I do. And if I didn't, the point is that if I didn't have a relationship with God, then I would have read that and been like, God, I would have threw that book over my shoulder and I would have bought those needles and I would have fucking went on a fucking run. But I didn't, man. And since then, like, that was the first time that the program and the work really in real life, in real time, played out for me, bro. Because if I wasn't praying on the way to CVS that night, and if I didn't do all that work for 4 years and had that relationship with God, I would have got high that night for sure. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I was sober for 4 years. I'm in the UFC. I was ready to throw it all away. I don't give a fuck. That's how I'm built. I don't fucking give a fuck about the UFC. I don't give a fuck about my wife. I don't give a fuck about my family when I get into a certain mind frame. You know, and that's my addiction telling me, fuck it all up, bro. Fuck it all up. Please. You know you want to get high. And that's how my disease works, man. And even recently, like after the Paddy Pimblett fight, I was pretty pissed off, man. And then I fought Bobby Green, another fight that I'm winning, get headbutt, no contest. I had a major concussion. Then I was supposed to fight Jim Miller. And I spoke about like having concussion symptoms after the Bobby Green fight, because I took that fight on short notice.
The Bobby Green fight?
No, the Jim Miller fight. I took it 6 weeks after the no contest with Bobby Green. They're like, "Yo, you want to fight Jim Miller on short notice?" Okay. And then they asked me in an interview, "Do you feel like you're coming back too fast?" And I'm like, I had some symptoms, but I feel great now. The next day, the day of weigh-in, I get the phone call, "Yo, they're pulling you from the fight because you said you had concussion symptoms."
Oh my God.
And I never got cleared by a neurologist. So, the UFC was liable. They had to pull me. And they did the right thing. But I went into a fucking depression like I've never been in my life. Not only did I have symptoms, but I was so depressed, and the symptoms exasperated my depression. And I was gonna kill myself like 4 months ago. I was
gonna say
on
this
the
is
verge
very
of suicide.
recent.
Yeah, I was gonna kill myself. I never made a plan to, but I had the ideations and I couldn't stop the ideations from happening. And my disease was saying, "Oh, you're going to skip the drugs and the alcohol? Great. You're just going to kill yourself? Fuck you, hell yeah." That's what our disease wants, right? Any way for us to die, our disease doesn't care if we do drugs and alcohol. It just wants us dead.
Right.
So when my disease heard suicide, it was like, yeah, fuck the drugs and the alcohol. Go straight to the death. Go straight to killing yourself. That's perfect. It's even better than drugs and alcohol.
Bypass the
bullshit. You'll last for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll overdose.
How'd you get through that?
I went to a brain center and they helped me a lot. I had vertigo, major vertigo. equilibrium. The crystals in my ear were off. They put me in this machine. They spun me fucking 3 times. They treated me 3 times a day for 5 days, like intense treatment. And it fucking helped so much, bro.
Really?
And I also, started taking some certain supplements that helped me a great deal. And I came out of it, man. And then I got this fight with Mark Madsen at Madison Square Garden. I was like, oh my God, my dreams are coming true. And the program, I got a new sponsor, started doing the steps with him again. Maybe you know him, Matt Williams. You know Matt Williams? He owns Pro.
Yeah, he was just on here.
That's my sponsor. Yeah, Matt's my sponsor.
Yeah. He was just on probably 2 months ago, maybe.
Not even, yeah.
Yeah, that's my guy. And thanks to him, Jeremy, and my support network, I was able to fucking get through it, man. My wife, huge part of it, obviously, Christina.
You're surrounded by a lot of good
I'm
men,
surrounded
dude.
by sobriety, man, and good people. Yeah. My brother, Dylan. My parents, they live here now in Delray, so they were like,
oh, that's cool.
They were fucking scared, bro. Because I was telling them, like, I'm going to fucking kill myself.
Thank you for being so open and honest about this. Because, dude, like, as me looking at you, I'm like looking at, here's Jared, man. He's in the UFC on top of the world. Like, but for you to come out
like that, man.
On this episode and say, like, I struggle with suicidal ideation, it's so weird that you bring that up. Because I was actually, I talked to 2 guys this week about the same thing. And it's something, I've never brought this up, Tom. He did, so now I'm going to. It's something that I've struggled with my whole life. And the thing is like today I've got purpose. I've got people depending on me. Mm-hmm. And, like you said, working with others. And I told a dude a few nights ago, I'm like, how can I sit here and read the big book with you and tell you how to live your life with these spiritual principles? And then I go kill myself, and he would look at me like, oh, well, that shit must not work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, it's we're, as addicts and alcoholics, we're fucking prone to this shit. And you see it all the time, man. Celebrities killing themselves, or drug addiction, dying from drug addiction or alcoholism. It's money, fame. It's all fucking facade, bro. None of it. It makes you happy, and then it doesn't make you happy anymore. You think that this shit is going to be the answer to all your fucking problems. Well, if I just get to this point, or if I'm just at this point in my career or my life, or if I do this, I'll be happy. Bullshit, dude. If you're not connected to God, your higher power, whatever you call it, and you don't have like a foundation, then you're going to be miserable. And that's it's the program, man. It's the program, bro. If you're not doing the work, doesn't matter how physically strong or gifted you are or how much you're in the gym. None of that will fucking matter, bro.
And I wanted to tie that in too, because like the assets of being a fighter, for instance, you're probably one of the most disciplined when it comes to that art, as far as discipline, your training. We have all this drive, right? And I don't want to say that it doesn't correlate, because we brought up earlier like that fighting doesn't keep you sober. However, a lot of those assets from that, like when you look at it,
it solidifies it, strengthens it. And we all need this stuff. We have to be physically healthy, but it's all about your mental, man. What's going inside? What's going on between your, in your brain? What's going on in your head? Like, if you're mentally and physically and emotionally and spiritually sound, it only makes you better physically, and that's just the way it is. Especially as an athlete, like if you're not there mentally, you're not going to perform.
I had something else that I wanted to bring up as well, because I think you're the perfect candidate to talk about this, kind of Mythbusters in a way. So you're coming up on 8 years, and let's call it what it is. You're in a combat sport. And you talked about the plate in your face, talked about your ankle, stuff along those lines. Like I imagine you've had some serious injuries. Yeah. Yet you've gone 8 years without taking opiates. Now, because I'll be straight up with you, like once in a while I'll get the phone call, a mom wants her son Johnny to come to treatment, and like he tore his ACL or something, a car accident. Oh, you don't understand. He really needs these pain meds. you know, and once in a while, man, there may be like a legitimate case. And I'll speak for myself. I did the doctor shopping thing too. Like, we know how to do that. But like, I just feel like because of who you are and what you do, like hitting home the point of regardless of pain, if you will, is there like other methods to pain relief?
Yeah, I mean,
your
if
insight
you have
to
surgery,
that? Yeah,
and you come home from surgery, you're in pain.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for me, when I've had surgeries, I tell them like, yo, look, I don't want a full script of drugs. Can you just give me like 2 pills? And that's what they'll do.
Okay.
Like, because I know when I get home, I'm going to be hurting.
Yeah.
And then maybe like the next morning, you wake up, you're swollen as shit. Like, depending on what kind of surgery you have, you're in fucking pain usually the next day. You know, so you take one the first day, as prescribed, obviously. You're not going to, you know, take all of them at once. Or you take one the next day maybe. And then really, like, you don't really need pain meds after that, you know? And that's been my experience.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think that goes to, again, going back to what you were saying just a little bit ago, was your relationship with God plays a huge effect on that.
Yeah, and it's also like, we're way tougher than we think we are.
Yeah.
Back in the day, if you had to have like some crazy surgery or like some crazy thing, like there was no pain meds around, like, yeah, you were just dealing with the fucking pain. And that's what you got to do. You got to just man up and deal with pain. Like, the kind of drugs that we were taking, you don't need, like, that's for like, you know, terminally ill cancer patients.
Right.
Oxycontin. A perk 5 milligram. Yeah, you had fucking shoulder surgery. Okay, take one. But take it as prescribed. And then that's it. Like, you don't need to take a 30-day script of, you know, or whatever they gave you, 20 pills. You know, I don't know. Usually people get like 5 days worth of pills after a surgery. You don't need that.
Right.
And they just make you feel like shit anyways. So Tylenol, ibuprofen, ice, a little meditation.
No, I appreciate your insight on that.
Man. I mean, that's been my experience. Like, when I had that surgery in my face, I had the same surgery on my other eye 5 years later, 2018. Oh, wow. And that shit sucks, bro. I was in there, I had surgery. The fucking doctor tore my eyelid, so they had to put this tube in my face, and they put another plate in my face. And I came home and my face was out, you know, out of surgery, you know, cranial surgery. Yeah, I took a pain med. And then I took one when I woke up the next day, and that was all I took. And then I had a nose surgery, actually, like 6 months after I got sober, I had nose surgery. That shit fucking sucked, dude. They put these 2 huge stents in my nose. For a week, I was really uncomfortable, bro. And yeah, like the first day, I took a Percocet, but took it as prescribed, and I didn't like eat a pill, like a 30-day script, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then I've obviously had other injuries that, like, I'm in pain. I didn't take any pain meds, you know? So
I had a feeling like if I asked legitimately, obviously, dude, you're a case of like you've had some pain and some surgeries. Sure. And, you know, man, it's tough, like, because me being involved in 12-step fellowship, like, I'll have a sponsee call me and say, hey, man, I got a surgery coming up, and I plan on taking pain meds. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you've already made the decision you're going to do that before
you're not going to,
going. You don't even know what's going to happen.
Right. I think that as long as everyone knows and that, like, someone's holding the script for you and you're taking it as prescribed, and everyone's watching you, then you should probably be all right. And if you really care about being sober, listen, if you're going to relapse, you're going to relapse.
Right.
You don't got to take pain meds to make that decision. And then, that was my bridge to back to my drug of choice. If you were going to relapse, you were going to relapse regardless of what you were going to do or the pills you were going to do. So, I mean, like when I had shoulder surgery that first time, I knew I was going to fucking relapse. I was already planning on smoking angel dust with my friend. And I had to take before the surgery, my boy was like, yeah, get surgery. And then like, we'll smoke some dust. And I'm like, all right, cool. So when I fucking had the pain pills were just like icing on the cake. Like of the surgery. And like, I knew like, all right, I'm going to be out of fighting for a while. So I'm going to smoke some dust and I won't go back to heroin. Cause that's, within a week of smoking dust, I was doing heroin again, So,
I got a question. Given the platform that you have in terms of, the UFC and everything, I watch just about all the pay-per-view fights and a lot of the fight nights. And a lot of times, like if you follow some of their Instagram pages and stuff, they there's a lot of like after parties and stuff like that from the fights. And, I imagine probably too in Vegas and stuff, the fight wraps up and everybody goes out partying and stuff like that. My question isn't so much, do you partake in those? Because you just said that you go and eat pizza and probably hang out with your family. But have you had any opportunities inside of the UFC to like, as people, maybe not just the UFC, but like in general, the platform that you have now, because I'll be honest with you, you're about the only person that I know of, and I follow UFC relatively close. I'm not like I couldn't be a commentator or nothing like that, but you're the only person that I've ever seen inside the octagon on it. Like the whole world is watching you talk about this stuff. About addiction.
Right.
Like, has people heard that and like reached out to you and said, I've been wanting to like get clean, or, this is something that I've struggled
with. Other athletes? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the time. I speak to people constantly. Yeah.
And how do they receive it?
People always reach out to me like constantly looking for help, from all over the world. People reach out to me. How do they receive it? I tell them like, bro, what are you struggling with? They tell me what they're dealing with. They ask me they tell me what's going on, and I'm like, well, do you think you need help?
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, so go to fucking treatment or try AA. When people are like, I don't want to go to treatment, I'm like, all right, well, go to a meeting then. That's what I do. That's what works for me. And some people listen, some people don't. I've helped people get into treatment. A lot of people I've gotten into treatment. And a lot of people I've just talked to, man. I just talk to them. And that's it. Just like any other person in AA or any other person that's in the addiction field does. But yeah, a lot of athletes reach out to me or just talk to me. Most of them are pretty like in control of their lives. Otherwise they wouldn't be where they are. But some people definitely like, I fucking can't stop drinking, or I can't stop doing this. Sorry. And then I'm like, well, go get some help.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty straight and to the point, but I think it's cool given the platform that you've built for yourself, because a lot of times, and we talked about the celebrities a little bit ago. Whether you like to admit it or not, I don't know, but you are a celebrity at this stage, in terms of.
I really think?
I do.
I do.
I don't feel like I'm a celebrity, bro.
I feel like a lot of celebrities. I know you are. But listen, honestly,
I don't want to be like that. Like that is like.
It's still weird because, and Ben and I, we get calls and emails from people that have been listeners of the podcast for years. And every time I get on the phone with a mom or something, it's like they're talking to Joe Rogan. And I'm like,
oh, really? I gotta chill out.
Yeah, and it's like, but
yeah, I get it.
See, this is where, dude, I feel like being in recovery, being an addict, being an alcoholic is like a superpower in a way. Like, dude, the thing that I've really appreciated the most sitting here with you is like, because I was thinking the same thing, like, oh, UFC fighter, like, and maybe I'm a jerk for thinking this, but it is what it is. Like, I'm like, oh, he's going to have to come in here and keep up a facade. Like, I'm a tough guy. But at the end of the day, dude, like,
nah, bro.
You've been so open and authentic and vulnerable and speaking the truth that, dude, that is an amazing quality to have. And like, dude, you are who you are, and it makes it very attractive and easy to talk to, so to speak. And like, if I need help, like, I wouldn't be afraid to talk to you.
Well, that's what I try to do, man. I try to make it easy to be like approachable,
Yeah.
because like you see all these, like a lot of athletes are like you could tell like this guy's a fucking dick.
Like how? What do you mean? Like
they just act like they're too good to like deal with
right
people that aren't celebrities or athletes, and it's like, who the fuck are you?
right.
No one gives a fuck that you make money and that you're on TV. I don't give a fuck. So like when I see certain people in our industry, I'm like, you could just be a little kinder, man, a little nicer. Like, yeah, you're a great athlete, but you're still a person.
Yeah.
Why don't you make it so that people could be like, so you could be relatable? Don't you want to be relatable? Or do you want to act like you're better than? Because that's the worst kind of person, bro.
I think that's more, I think that's more what I meant in terms of.
I think they're also very like ignorant.
Yeah.
And they just haven't had certain life experiences, which, people like us have dealt with. Like when you go to jail or when you're homeless or when you're in a homeless shelter or if you're begging on the street for change, which I've done, that puts you in a certain place, So like when I see people, like I want to help them because I know what it's like. A lot of these guys, man, for instance, like LeBron James, that motherfucker's been catered to his whole life.
Yeah.
Like he's been a millionaire since he's like 17, like right out of high school. And like he acts like a prima donna bitch.
Right. I agree.
And it's like, bro, you're a little crybaby bitch, dude. You're a fucking millionaire. Don't get me started. Football players kneeling, national anthem. You're a fucking millionaire. America afforded you all of what you have.
I know.
And you're going to kneel. Go fuck yourself, you little pussy. You've been catered to your whole life. You went to college. Everyone was fucking blowing you your whole life. You were probably a stud athlete when you were in high school, when you were in middle school. Everyone just you your whole life. Now you're going to fucking go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to, dude.
So it's like
empathy.
Raw.
Empathy.
Yeah.
And I honestly like that, like you're passionate and heated about it because, dude,
it annoys me, bro.
I hate seeing people mistreated.
I'm like, bro, you're a fucking loser, dude.
Well,
and everything you want, and you're complaining. What the fuck are you complaining about? Fucking pussy.
Well, and just stay within your freaking guardrails, I suppose. You know, play basketball.
Who are you to talk about politics? Go fuck yourself.
Right? Yeah.
No one cares about your opinion. Yeah, play basketball. Pussy sport.
I like basketball.
I hate basketball. I hate football too. Is a fucking bunch of pussies, dude.
Yeah, put them in.
Hockey's legit.
Yeah.
And boxers are pussies too, bro. Pussies.
Okay, let me ask you this
Prima
question.
donna pussies, bro.
Let me ask you this question. What do you think of the? All right, we're gonna divert here,
All
and
right,
let's just
go,
start
man.
having some fun. All right, you got a hell of a story, dude, and thank you, like you said, for being honest with everything. My one question I have, you don't hate me for asking this. Listen, the Paul brothers.
Oh, they're smart, bro.
They're extremely smart.
Super smart. They're doing great for themselves and for other people, but they're little pussies too, bro.
Now, put you and
not.
Jake Paul in a ring. What happens? In boxing.
He's huge, bro. He's a big
He
guy.
is huge. That's
super
not
athletic.
That's not
They
fair.
seem like they work hard. They're super athletic.
Yeah.
And they're huge. So, I mean, I think pound for pound, I'm definitely a better boxer.
Yeah.
I box a lot, dude. When I was in New York, all I was doing was boxing. Like real boxers, pro boxers. But I don't think he's like a good boxer.
Who did he fight most recently? Tyrone Woodley, and then he fought.
Yeah, Tyrone Woodley, man, he didn't. I know Tyrone. I trained with him a bunch, and I'm friends with him.
He got knocked out that second time.
I think it's fake, bro.
Do you?
I think that they let that happen or made that happen.
You think so?
Yeah, and I also think that he didn't give a fuck. He just did it for money.
He got paid. Yeah.
Got paid. That was it, man.
Who did he fight after?
And then the other
that?
one fought, and then he fought, or the brother fought Dylan Dennis.
Oh, right. That was the most recent.
I hate those kids. I hate them, bro. I hate that kid Dylan.
So he fights underneath
underneath no one.
Oh,
He sucks, bro.
somebody
He's
who
a fucking loser, dude.
Dylan Dennis was on Pierce
Honestly,
Morgan podcast.
They made him look like an idiot on that, right? I think
On the Pierce Morgan?
Yeah, he's a tool, dude. First, he's also very stupid. He's a stupid person. Like, dude, he's like a fucking
Dummy.
He's a dummy, doofy idiot.
Well, they did. I think
But
Pierce,
good for him, bro. He's probably doing well for himself, also, Dylan. I mean,
he's not in the
he just
UFC.
seems like a jerk off. No,
right?
he's not in the UFC. He'll never,
That's what he was saying.
he'll never be in the UFC.
That's what he said at the end of the interview with Pierce Morgan.
Yeah, if I don't get into UFC, then I'm done.
Right.
Why would they sign you?
Yeah.
have
Because
one-
he like charged Logan Paul after the fight. He like
Yeah, I mean, it's a show, bro.
yeah,
that's
that's
a show.
true. That's true. What's your training look like?
I train all day, every day, 6 days a week.
Really?
Usually I take Sundays off.
So like how many hours out of the day?
I mean, fight camp, like 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm training, maybe, and then a lot of it's also recovery. So like 6-7 hours of my day is probably fight related stuff.
And that's grappling, jujitsu,
Whatever.
striking.
Strength and conditioning. I swim. I have a swim coach. I have like a physiotherapist that we do like mobility sessions and recovery sessions, and I got a wrestling coach. I got a jiu-jitsu coach. I got a striking coach. Then I spar. We grapple. We wrestle.
All of it.
All of it. Yeah.
And that coach Stroud, he's your striking coach?
One of them, but he's like my main coach. Yeah,
I see. Yeah,
I've
'cause
known him for like 12 years now. Or
he
something.
seems really cool.
Yeah, he's legit. Straight edge. Never got high or drank in his life.
Really?
Yeah, like real straight edge guy.
Wow.
Like it was a straight edge, like triple X on his forearm. Legit, yeah. Legit human.
So when you get a fight camp, Ben's checked out.
I'm listening. I'm
When
taking
you
it
get a
all in.
fight camp, how long does a typical camp last?
8 weeks.
Yeah. Now, when you
10
took
weeks.
this, when you were what fight was it that you took on short notice?
Jim Miller.
How long notice did you have?
It's like 20 days or 16 days or 17 days.
And so what do you do? Like who calls you? Does Dana White call you?
No.
Okay.
My manager. I have a manager. And he speaks to the UFC matchmakers.
Okay.
My manager called me. You want to fight? Okay. And then I trained. And I had to lose weight. And that was it.
How much weight you have to lose?
I was 191 when they called me. And I lost like 20-something pounds in like 2 weeks. And then I was going to have to cut like 15 pounds that week.
Wow. So that
But
would have
also
been like,
bloat. Really, like 10 of it was like fake weight.
right. Just water.
Yeah, and the other 10 was like real mass.
And then, so you went through all that, and then you get there, and
And then they pull me out.
oh my gosh! But is that like easy for you now? I mean, not easy, but
It's not easy, but I know how to do it. Yeah.
do you have to like sit in a hot tub and stuff, and
Yeah. Fight the day before weigh-ins. That's what I do.
and then so you go and weigh in, and you make the weight.
Rehydrate.
And then, so if you weigh in the day before, is it no holds bar after that? Like you can eat and eat and eat?
No, bro. I got to eat. Like, you can't just eat whatever you want. Otherwise, you'll
Yeah. Feel like shit.
and you'll shit your brains out. Yeah.
You have a nutrition
Literally.
coach too?
Yeah, I have a nutritionist, and he's there with me fight week, and he helps me cut the weight. And then he feeds me all week, and then he refeeds me when I'm done weighing in. Up until the fight, he's feeding me like good healthy food.
Yeah. It's a science, man. It
It's
really
science,
is.
Yeah.
I followed Mike Dolce for a while. Do you know him?
Yeah. Dolce diet.
Yeah, he did the.
He was like one of the first guys to like do weight cutting stuff.
right. He seemed pretty legit.
Yeah, and then he like fell off. I don't know what happened.
Well, now I think he just focuses more now on like everyday
Celebrities.
people.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's how you make money.
Right. Yeah. Ben, do you have any Any questions?
I don't, man. I'm so grateful for you. I'm still like, again, I know I keep repeating myself, but just how open and authentic you've been as a human being, talking about your addiction, your past, the trauma stuff. Like, dude, it's you're down to earth, and I really appreciate that in people.
Yeah, man.
Big time.
That's what I try to do, man. I just want to be relatable so I can help people, because if you look like a stuck-up dick, why would anyone approach you?
Right. Yeah.
It's the bottom line, bro.
So where can people find you? On Instagram.
I live in Delray.
on Instagram. Do you live in Delray? I thought you live in Boca. I mean, close enough.
No, I'm in Delray. Jared Flash Gordon on Instagram. J Flash Gordon MMA on Twitter.
X.
On X, whatever you want to call it. And then that's it. On Facebook, I guess. Jared Flash Gordon on Facebook is my athlete page.
So if anybody wants to reach out to you, they could just send you a DM.
DM me. If I see it, I will respond.
Do you get a lot of DMs? Really?
Yeah, bro. It's crazy. People looking for help. All sorts of weird shit, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like all sorts of... Like, oh, I broke up with my girlfriend. I'm like, what the fuck you want me to do about that?
Yeah.
I try to be nice, though. I know I'll give... Yeah. I've broken up with plenty of girls, so... I try to give my piece. Someone said something to me the other day. What did they say? How do I get people... Oh, what did he say to me? I just was like, I have no idea, dude. I don't know how to help you there. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Like, what do I look like? A fucking...
I don't know is a good answer, too.
Yeah, I'm like, sorry, bro. I don't really have an answer for that. Like,
yeah.
He was like, all right, thanks. So I'm like, yeah, no problem.
And your wife has a gym down in Boca called Jump Twist Ninja?
Jump Twist Ninja, yeah. It's a Ninja Warrior gym. So she was on the show like 4 times. I was on it also.
Were you?
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I did terrible, yeah. She did well. It was fun, though. And then she's opening up. She's franchising it. She's probably going to they're going to open more of them. Crazy. It's awesome, though. She's doing great. She's also owns like a gymnastics music company. It's the biggest gymnastics music company in the country.
Gymnastics music?
Yeah, like so floor routine music.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And she choreographs routines also for the gymnasts.
Oh, nice.
She's like, it's her expertise. Yeah, she's...
She should help me out.
For what? Oh, because you're a bodybuilding show?
Yeah.
I don't think it's the same thing.
No,
man.
it's not the same. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, so she's a beast, dude.
And she stuck
runs
by
my
you.
Social media. Yeah, well, yeah, she did. Yeah,
you guys been together, if I remember correctly.
I've known her since first grade. Bro.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've known her for 30 years. It's fucking insane. We started dating when we were 18. And I started getting high. She left me deservingly. I was a liar. And then we got back together, and I relapsed. She left me again. And then when I was 28, I was sober, got into UFC. We got back together. We got engaged. And this is the longest we've gone without breaking up, like 5 years. Thanksgiving actually was we started dating again on Thanksgiving Day. And that's my girl, bro. She's the backbone.
Thick and thin,
the brains. Dude. She's the brains and the backbone of everything, bro. Yeah, I'm just like the muscle. I'm like, what?
Awesome.
You want me to hit? I'll hit someone. You need me to hit someone?
Was it? And
you need me to pick something up? All right.
This is it, and then we have to wrap this up. Wasn't there? This must have gone a couple years ago. I feel like I remember you posting something. Did you get attacked in New York? And then
no. So I got into a fight in the street in New York. It's on camera, and then we also got me and my parents. We were in Chicago.
This is it. Yeah.
This guy got out of his car with a bat.
Yep.
And I was like, "Are you I'm gonna fucking. You think I'm scared because you got a bat? You better hit me directly in my temple with the best shot ever, because I don't care if you have a baseball bat. I'm gonna fucking take it from you." And that's what I did. Well, I was with my cousin's husband. And he also does jiu-jitsu, and he's not a pushover at all. And we were both like,
was this guy intoxicated or what? Like, what was it?
So he was at a pull-through drive-through ATM machine. And on his front bumper, it said, "I love cocaine and hookers." So I'm like, me too. So I'm taking a video of it. I'm like, look at this. This is fucking great. And like, I see him. He's in the driver's seat and he can't get out because his door's hitting the ATM machine. So he starts climbing over and getting out of his passenger side. And we're in Chicago. I'm like, oh shit, this guy gonna whip out a fucking AK-47. And he goes into his trunk. So I'm like, oh shit. And he pulls out a bat and I'm like, and he starts walking towards us. Like, and he's like, what the fuck are you looking at? And I'm like, bro, you know you have that fucking bumper sticker. What do you think I'm looking at? Your license plate? I don't give a fuck about it. So I got infuriated, dude. I'm with my parents who are in their 60s, and my cousin and her husband just came out of dinner, and I'm like, you're approaching us with a baseball bat? I'm going to fucking kill you, dude. And we took it from him, and I somehow held myself back from beating his ass. But it was funny, yeah.
I remember seeing it.
I took the bat from him, and he was like, can I have my bat back? And I'm like, fuck, are you fucking retarded?
He obviously didn't know. He didn't know who he was pulling a bat on.
He just walked. He's lucky I let him go. If my parents weren't there, I would have beat his ass. But I didn't want to like get all bloody and shit. And if I beat him up, we would have to call the cops probably, you know?
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like dealing with all that. So.
All right. Well, that's it. I think this was fun. Definitely would love to have you back on at some point. Sure. And that is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. If you would like to be connected with Jared in some capacity, if you have a loved one that needs treatment, or you feel like Jared could help you in any way, you could send him a DM, or you could email us and we can connect you as well. So that is it. We will see y'all later.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.